Questions that I often get asked about Church Welco and the work that I do with pastors and ministers is, why do we orient so specifically around bravery and pain and weightiness and hard things when there's so much more than that is experienced in ministry and in pastoring, which is true. There is delight and there is beauty in the movement of God everywhere. But the reason that we orient specifically around the things that are heavy and that are weighty is because it requires a different kind of trust. So think about it in this way. Think about a moment where something great happened that you want to celebrate, something delightful. And think about it, just in your mind, I imagine who sits on the list of people that you would want to share that delight within that celebration with, the people you go to and go, I want you to see me in this way and know how amazing this was. Think about who's on that list. And on the other side, think about when life gets really hard, when you're experiencing betrayal, when you're experiencing weariness and burnout, when you're experiencing discouragement, when things that you would hope for aren't being seen, when the weight of the stories you're carrying becomes unbearable. Who are the people who can hold that with you? And often what we find is that the trust that is able to hold heavy things is actually formed separately than the trust that is formed in celebration and delight. And oftentimes the people who can hold the heavy things can also celebrate and delight with us. But oftentimes we have relationships that we know that are there for celebration and delight. But when things get heavy, we're not sure, can those relationships hold the weight of the experiences that we're having? And so at Church Wilco, we are oriented specifically around creating opportunities for relationships to be formed that can be demonstrated to hold the weight of the heavy things. And so we bring pastors together in shared context and we practice cultivating, developing that trust with one another in this question of, hey, when this is heavy, can you hold this? And when it's heavy for you, can I hold this? And what does that look like? How do we become people? And how do we walk together, as Paul would say in Galatians, and carry one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ? But how do we intentionally practice and cultivate relationships where there is room for the heavy things to be held, as well as the delight and the joy and the celebration? And so that's what we do at Church Welco. We believe we want all of the things. We want celebration, we want light, and we don't want pastors to have to carry the burden and the weight of ministry alone. And so we create spaces where we together can practice cultivating that trust that is needed in those spaces. So as you look at 2024, as you head into the new year, man, if you need some more relationships, or even just a relationship where you can practice putting some weight on the table and having it held together and processed through together and wrestled through together, reach out at www.churchwell.co. You can email me, Brian James at churchwell.co. I'd love to get you connected to a group, to get you connected with some other pastors in your spaces of ministry where we together can cultivate the trust that's needed to not burn out when times get hard, to be able to sustain our own well-being and our commitment to the move of God.